Hi, my name is Nancy Love. I am starting something called the Planet Peace Project. Beyond that, I have studied psychology and behavioral medicine to some significant extent, and I've decided I'm going to start giving you all a tutorial on some of the things that I learned when I studied these subjects, because they were some of the most important subjects I have ever studied, and I would like to impart at least some of the wisdom that I gained in those studies to you for free, and you don't have to go to college to get the same information that I got. Now, if you want to contribute to either a crowdfund that I will still have going, or I think it's possible to contribute to a YouTube video provider directly, then you're welcome to contribute. But basically, I'm offering this information for free because I think it's useful to people, and take it and run with it for what it's worth. People, stop expecting criminals to tell you the truth. I'm sorry, but duh. You need to understand antisocial personality disorder. Antisocial personality disorder is a series of characteristics that tend to co-occur in people who we call criminals, or con artists, or scumbags, or, hopeless jerks. These people are the liars, they are the thieves, they are the rapists, they are the beaters, and they are the murderers in this planet. And if someone is a liar, by definition, they've got antisocial personality disorder and they don't value the truth. They have so much to hide that you can't just walk up to someone who has antisocial personality disorder and expect them to tell you the truth. Part of the definition of the problem is they lie. They also do not almost ever actually take responsibility for their own crimes. If they hit you, you made them so angry they had to do it. No, not true. What did they make you? If you didn't hit them back, if somebody clobbered you and you didn't take a, bat to their head or whatever in return, then that's what's called impulse control on your part. You had more self-control. Impulse control, it's a seemingly innocuous little term, but it is the foundation and the very basis for all of civilization, because it is said that we all have impulses to do things that aren't necessarily good for us, good for others, but the vast majority of us, and the foundation of civilization itself, is that the vast majority of us have what's called impulse control, and we don't go around willy-nilly following all of our bizarre impulses. These impulses could be, say, to start drinking at 8 in the morning, or, to be really rude to someone, or, they could be anything. But the more self-control you have, the more sane you are. And people who lack impulse control and they get an impulse to hit someone, so they hit someone, that's insane. That is uncivilized. It's called mental illness, and it needs to stop. These same people who lack impulse control and will follow their most dangerous and scurrilous impulses are the same ones who are going to blame you for their lack of impulse control. Never, ever, ever accept the idea that somebody made, that, you made somebody do anything. I know people who rape other people. I've tried to counsel people who drug, rape, and sell the opportunity to have sex with somebody who's unconscious, and said, well, she wanted it. No, she didn't want it. If you have to drug someone in order to sexually assault them, that was a no. You need to start getting an actual brain. You need to start actually having an IQ for a change. Anybody who's ever slipped a drug into someone else's anything, their body somehow, That was a crime you committed with your own hands, and nobody made you do it. Nobody. Nobody enticed you. Nobody led you on. Nobody wanted you. If you had to drug someone in order to sexually assault them while they're unconscious or otherwise cognitively incapable of defending themselves, that was because they said no. And I find it incredibly strange that I actually have to say this to people who are so daft and so stupid and so criminal and so corrupt and, like I said, so downright stupid, that they can't figure out that the minute they put their hands on some sort of drug and put it in someone else's body without their knowledge or permission, that was on them, not their victims. But criminals have a self-concept they have to maintain of them being in the right all the time. The vast majority of us, when we do make a mistake, we can acknowledge it. We have introspection. We can do some self-examination, and we're healthy enough psychologically to say, well, I really messed up. I own that. That's on me. You know, a healthy person, when they make a huge mistake or, rarely enough commit a crime, they accept responsibility for it. They accept responsibility to make whatever changes they need in their thinking and their behavior so that they don't repeat the same mistake. And that's called psychological health. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect on this planet, from what I can tell, because Jesus Christ has been gone for a few thousand years, but the rest of us are just struggling to figure this all out on our own. And one of the ways we do it is self-examination and self-retribution. We try to evolve. I have a saying, redemption is the basis for evolution. But don't expect your redemption to come from the forgiveness of others. And your redemption, listen up, your redemption will never come by you blaming your victims for your crimes. You are personally responsible for every crime you've ever committed, and your victims are really, truly innocent of blame. And if I could get that through the thick skulls of these sociopaths that I've known, particularly in Los Angeles and Texas, and there's a handful of them in North Carolina, then it would be a more beautiful world. So stop expecting people who are inherently criminal to tell the truth about their crimes. If you think someone, for example, is being beaten, a child or a family member or even unrelated roommates, if you think someone is being hurt in their own home, you're not going to get a whole lot of mileage by asking the person who you think is doing the hurting if they're doing the hurting, because they're going to lie to you. Criminals are notoriously inefficient about accepting blame and telling the truth. So you're going to have to use some other mechanisms to get the truth out of them. And good luck on that. Anyway, more on this later. I've said my piece, but I'm making this video right this instant because someone said, I said, well, so-and-so is a criminal and he's done these things. And they said, oh, well, I'll call him and ask him. I thought, wow, are you stupid or what? What do you think a criminal is going to say when you ask him if he's a criminal? What are you gonna get out of somebody? Cops know this. Police know this. The people in the FBI, Homeland Security, Department of Justice, all these organizations have people deeply, wonderfully trained to identify liars. And although I have 72 hours in psychology, I have talked to Los Angeles police officers who are much better trained than I ever was in a lot of these aspects of psychology. I have a saying, a good police officer is a good psychologist. And if a police officer is not a good psychologist, they probably won't last a couple of years in the job. You utterly and absolutely have to be an extremely adept and astute psychologist in order to be a successful police officer who survives on the beat. I don't think you get in and out of a squad car, you know, just being real naive and trusting and not being able to determine who's lying to you and who's a criminal and who's not. It's an extremely delicate science, and it's not perfect, but you need to learn. You need to learn. I mean, don't be so daft and stupid and naive that you think you can walk up to someone who commits crimes habitually and say, "Hi, are you a career criminal who commits crimes habitually?" Because what the heck do you think they're going to say? Duh. And if you reveal to them whoever it was that put you on their trail, then that person is now at risk. That person was probably trying to help you some way, warn you some way, that this person, that the criminal is a criminal. And instead of thanking them and doing right by them for that warning, what you've just done is put them at risk. Because criminals have a self-concept to protect of themselves as really being in the right, no matter what sort of crimes they committed, even murder, rape, trafficking, murder, assault, drugging people without their knowledge and permission, lying constantly, lying to the police, putting in fake evidence. I know someone who tells people that he generates totally false evidence and then files false police reports to discredit his own victims. He's trying to make the police not believe the people he's victimized by, in advance of them reporting them for crimes they never committed. And he's generating fake evidence and tells you so. Stop trusting people like that. Don't expect someone that stupid and flawed and disgusting and perverted to tell you the truth, because they lost the truth a long time ago. Lying was probably the first way they started becoming criminal. Losing your ability to be truthful is probably the first step on the path to all these other forms of criminality, because all these other forms of criminality, if you are successful, successful at getting away with them, are going to depend on you being at the very least, a liar. So please, don't be so naive to say, "Oh, so-and-so's a criminal, well, I'll just call him up and ask," because what you're going to get is a bunch of lies if the person is in fact a criminal. And if the person isn't, they're going to deny it anyway. So one way or the other, they're going to deny it, and you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get closer to the truth by asking a criminal directly if they're a criminal. Hello. Anyway, I'll try to make these videos in the future a little bit calmer and more diplomatic, but I'm a person who's had a lot of reasons to be a lot of angry. In the last several years, I personally have been victimized by criminals, particularly in the Los Angeles area, and that is primarily because back in 2007 I tried to prevent some people involved in international human trafficking from selling kids' hearts. Now, there's apparently a misunderstanding in the common population about the word human trafficking. Apparently most of you think it's just a delimited term that refers to forcing someone into prostitution. Nothing could be further from the truth. The way law enforcement is currently using the term human trafficking, it not only implies or refers to someone who's being beaten or threatened or for some way actually being a prostitute. It also refers to people who are drugged and unconscious and raped and trafficked while they're unconscious and not even aware of what's happening. And yes, that is actually possible. You can be drugged, you can be raped, you can be trafficked and raped by a number of different people. You can wake up hours later confused, passive, maybe dizzy. You can have all kinds of physical symptoms that you might write off as temporary illness or something. You can actually be drugged, raped, and trafficked to strangers and not realize or understand what actually happened while you were unconscious. Now, human trafficking unfortunately also refers to the truly horrific practice of organ selling. I made it all the way to the age of 49 before I found out that this happened on this planet I live on. And I've got the worst news. You may already know. But there are people on this planet so vile, so corrupt, so evil, so greedy, so lazy, so stupid, that they don't get jobs and they don't do meaningful work and they don't try to serve humanity and the planet the way the rest of us are doing. They kill people and sell their body organs on the black market. There are people who kill children and sell their hearts. There are people who kill little kids in order to sell their hearts. And that is also referred to now as human trafficking. So please broaden your understanding of what's happening on this planet. Do more to fight crime. Do more to gain your own impulse control. Because as I've said, individual impulse control is the foundation for civilization. If all human beings developed healthy impulse control, this would be a beautiful world. Because nobody would be smacking anybody over the head, and nobody would be beating their children, and no one would be shooting their neighbors, so there'd be no road rage. There would be no road rage incidents. There would be no war. Because we'd all have enough self-control to realize that hitting each other is wrong, shooting each other is wrong, beating each other, or bombing each other is wrong. Impulse control is the key to peace, both within a person, in an individual's own behavior, and in a society as a whole. There'll be more. Thank you for your attention.